Part 39. Fantasy. After thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 388. Call out. A white stream of light flew by, and Qin Hao's figure had been lifted to the extreme. He knew that he had to come to the Four Elephants Valley as soon as possible. The shepherd boy was no match for Suanwu and would be killed by Suanwu sooner or later. Qin Hao didn't walk long before he could see the misty forest. He took a deep breath and walked inside. Oops, I actually forgot to bring the guide bee here. I don't know if I can get out of here smoothly. Qin Hao swallowed his saliva and walked slowly into the misty forest. There was still a white mist in the misty forest. Qin Hao had already lost his way as soon as he walked inside, making it impossible for him to distinguish clearly. There was something inside. Qin Hao had been walking in the misty forest for a while, and he didn't know if he was going in the right direction. Looking at the end of the forest, he seemed to be able to see the Four Elephants Valley, and asked Qin Hao to. The voice was wrapped in the strength of the quasi-immortal emperor, and he shouted out fiercely. "Senior Qinglong, if you can hear my voice, please show up and see me." After the voice fell, Qin Hao looked around. Unfortunately, after his voice was heard for a long time, the misty forest did not change at all, as if no one cared at all. Qin Hao looked inside with some doubts, and said with a wry smile, "It seems that I can only go out on my own." After the words fell, a familiar voice suddenly came from Qin Hao's ears, causing him to quickly look to his side. A figure in a green robe appeared in front of Qin Hao, making Qin Hao look at him expectantly. The person who appeared in front of Qin Hao at this time was Qinglong in Helong Palace. "I don't know why he appeared in this place. I cannot stay for a long time. If you follow the path I have shown, I will guide you to my mansion." As soon as the voice fell, the green-robed figure had disappeared. Qin Hao watched as the green-robed figure gradually turned into a giant azure, Acai, dragon. He naturally followed behind the giant dragon, for fear that he would lose it. The green dragon kept coming in the jungle. Drilling in and out, Qin Hao also drilled in and out. Although Qinglong was always moving, Qin Hao found that Qinglong was always spinning in place, as if it had not taken him out of the misty forest. Just when Qin Hao thought Qinglong was when he wasn't playing tricks on him, Qin Hao immediately found that he had walked out of the misty forest, and naturally there was a quiet canyon in front of him. When Qinglong saw that Qin Hao had walked out, he murmured, "Don't go to other temples. Come to Qinglong Palace quickly." Qin Hao listened to Qinglong's special explanation. There was a hint of sadness between his eyebrows. He didn't know why Qinglong had to explain himself in particular. Qinglong watched Qin Hao focus on himself and said directly to Qin Hao, "Don't ask too much, you will know it when you come to Qinglong Palace." As soon as the voice fell, Qin Hao came to the gap in the valley alone. When he just walked into the gap in the valley, he immediately found a huge beast on the opposite side, which made Qin Hao suddenly widen his eyes. "What?" Qin Hao slowly took 2 steps back, somewhat confused as to why the Four Elephants Divine Valley was filled with evil spirits. Since Qin Hao took away the Suanwu tortoise shell, of course he put his spearhead inside the Suanwu cave to see if something happened inside. Now Fantasy. After thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 389. Stepping into the familiar path, Qin Hao kept his eyes on the passage just now. "Li Man." I don't know why, but as soon as Qin Hao walked into the passage, his restless heart calmed down, as if nothing happened. Since this is where Qinglong stores his remnant soul, there is naturally no need for asparagus grass around. However, Qinglong lives here all year round, so of course he knows the whereabouts of the asparagus grass. When I arrived at the Qinglong Hall, I immediately saw the Qinglong on the platform. Qinglong watched Qin Hao come to his Qinglong Palace and said with a smile, "I wonder if you have found any problems? I'm afraid the Four Elephants Divine Valley can no longer be called the Divine Valley." Qin Hao listened as Qing Long brought the topic to above. He hurriedly said, why did the Four Elephants Divine Valley undergo a huge change? Is it because something happened? Qin Hao had already seen something as soon as he arrived at the Four Elephants Divine Valley, but Qin Hao didn't take them to heart. Superior. Qing Long looked at Qin Hao and found nothing strange, and there was a hint of sadness in his tone. I don't know if you have noticed that the Suanwu tortoise shell has been taken away by you, and the spirit of the white tiger is now getting angry. The Four Elephants Divine Valley is because of the four. The elephant only exists when it is balanced, and now that the Suanwu spirit has been taken away, white tiger naturally has no one to suppress it. Seeing that he had caused such a big trouble, Qin Hao looked at Qing Long with a slightly embarrassed expression, as if waiting for Qing Long to arrange a task for him. Qing Long glanced at Qin Hao and said slowly, I know you are here to save Suanwu this time. You go to the White Tiger Palace for me first, and I will help you return to the dragon grass. Qin Hao looked at Qing Long. In this way, if you point directly at the Qing Long, you only need to get the asparagus grass to complete the task. Since Qing Long was in a hurry to arrange tasks, he had no extra thoughts and asked him to walk directly towards the White Tiger Palace. The location of White Tiger is in Xian, which is naturally the fastest place to unblock it. Slowly walking into the White Tiger Passage, Qin Hao immediately felt a sense of murderous aura, causing Qin Hao to focus on the White Tiger Palace. I saw a white tiger roaring above the White Tiger Palace, and countless wild beasts ran out from the nearby forest and locked Qin Hao inside. 0 Request flowers 0. Qin Hao saw that Bai Hu still had the power to summon all beasts, and said with a smile, have you forgotten me? I don't want to do anything to you. Bai Hu slowly walked out of the White Tiger Palace. Looking at Qin Hao, he immediately recognized Qin Hao's identity. 000. It turns out to be you. It seems that it is a bit bad for me to treat my benefactor like this. With that said, Bai Hu took back his strength. Qin Hao felt helpless as he watched Bai Hu take back his strength, but did not call the beasts away at all. I didn't expect that you are still playing some ancient tricks now. Do you want to be a polished commander? They seem to be no match for me. As he said that, Qin Hao set his sights on them. Bai Hu saw that Qin Hao was still arrogant, and said with a sneer, whether you can beat him or not is not up to you, you have to try to know. As soon as the voice fell, the momentum of the beasts burst out in vain, making Qin Hao focus on them, and his heart was naturally filled with shock. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 390. Kill the immortals and kill the demons. Qin Hao punched out the power in his hand and enveloped them directly. The beasts looked at the Zuxian killing formation surrounding him, with deep worry in their eyes, not knowing what happened. Qin Hao, seeing that the beasts had been trapped in the formation by him, he turned his head and looked at Bai Hu. Now you know that there is no use regretting, the next step is my main 000 field. After the words fell, Qin Hao turned his attention to the beasts, and there were some strange seals in his hands. As the seals intensified, the formation naturally started to move quickly, with blades in it, continuously shuttled back and forth. Fortunately, the fur of the beasts was relatively thick, and the long sword had no way of piercing their defense, and kept spinning outside their fur. Seeing that Qin Hao was still unable to break through their defense, Bai Hu sneered and said, I thought you were so powerful, but that's all. After the words fell, Bai Hu slowly returned to the White Tiger Palace. In Bai Hu's view, Qin Hao was of little use at all. The fur on the beasts was too tough. Even if Qin Hao had the killing array, he could only look back and sigh. But in Qin Hao's eyes, it was completely different. He just didn't show off his strength. When Qin Hao watched the White Tiger return to the White Tiger Palace, he immediately set his sights on the beasts. The seals on his hands were naturally there have been some changes. Thunder a scream came, and dark clouds flew over in the sky, and thunder continued to flash above. The beasts raised their heads and saw that the thunder gathered on their heads. Something was wrong. White Tiger listened outside. Someone kept roaring and walked out of the White Tiger Palace. At a glance, they saw the heavenly catastrophe coming, and all the beasts were in dire straits. When the White Tiger saw Tianwei appear, it grew bigger, and a white tiger appeared in front of them out of thin air. Boom, a bolt of lightning struck down, allowing Qin Hao to hit Baihu. I saw Baihu jump directly into the Zuxian killing formation, and used his body to bear down a thunderous strike, causing the hair behind him to turn a faint burnt yellow color. I didn't expect that even the power of heaven could be resisted. He is worthy of being one of the four divine beasts. Qin Hao sighed sincerely in his heart and focused on Baihu. Baihu saw that Qin Hao could trigger the thunder to bombard them. A hint of mockery emerged in his eyes, and his figure immediately grew larger. Since the Zuxian killing formation only has such a large range, as the White Tiger continues to expand, the Zuxian killing formation will naturally be squeezed out of numerous gaps by the White Tiger. Seeing the beasts escaping from the formation, Qin Hao didn't dare to slack off at all, and kept his eyes on the White Tiger. The beasts may not be your match, but I think you miss your old friends very much. After the voice fell, several people walked out of the White Tiger Palace. Qin Hao glanced at the White Tiger Palace and saw several men in black robes walking out. Dark Ancient Palace? How could you possibly be connected with them? No wonder the balance of the Four Elephants Valley has been broken. It turns out that you are the cause of everything. As he said that, Qin Hao had completely understood. Baihu looked at Qin Hao and saw everything, and let out a tiger roar in his mouth, which shocked the entire mountain forest. Collection, recommendation. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 391. Qin Hao, you probably didn't expect it. Gu Ji slowly walked out of the team, his face full of chills. The Dark Ancient Palace has been wandering around the Black Sea, so Qin Hao naturally didn't expect that they would actually reach out here. Gu Ji slowly walked out of the team. He walked out with a little bit of scarlet on the staff in his hand, which made people understand that the staff was not ordinary. Why did you come to the Four Elephants Valley? Is it just to encourage Baihu? Said, Qin Hao set his sights on the White Tiger. Now the White Tiger is obviously on the verge of demonization, and may completely explode at any time. Gu Ji looked at Qin Hao and set his sights on the White Tiger, with the staff in his hand. He suddenly swung out and hit Baihu directly. Suddenly, Baihu's body was covered with thick blood, and his eyes also turned scarlet, making him focus on Qin Hao. Baihu was originally very gentle, but now Qin Hao can't see the slightest bit of gentleness in Baihu. Soon, the white of Baihu's eyes can no longer be seen. He has been completely demonized. Ouch! A tiger roar sounded, and the White Tiger suddenly rushed towards Qin Hao, as if it wanted to catch Qin Hao to death. And just when the White Tiger jumped up, there was a roar of dragons in the sky, making everyone focus on it. I saw a green dragon circling in the sky, and finally landed in front of them, as if nothing had happened. Baihu, I didn't expect that you would still choose to become a demon. After all, I misjudged you. There was a huge circle on King Long's left hand, and he could choose at any time. Baihu watched Qing Long come to his territory. Although he was still slightly afraid in his heart, he still slowly took a few steps towards Qing Long. Qin Hao squinted. Looking at them, Baihu immediately seemed to be a little out of control, which made Qin Hao understand immediately. Senior Qing Long, I'm afraid I have to trouble you to delay Baihu. His demonization is absolutely related to Gu Ji. As soon as the voice fell, Qin Hao took action directly against Gu Ji. Just as Qin Hao took action, Qing Long saw the White Tiger become active, and a little bit of dragon energy burst out from his hands, directly surrounding the white tiger. Guji looked at, seeing that Qinglong had blocked Baihu. He certainly did not expect such a step. However, Guji still had his own attacks, so he naturally did not need to rely on Baihu to take action. Guji slowly took 2 steps outside, his eyes wide. On Qin, how are you planning to end it here? Let's go back to the fairyland and have a look. Qin Hao looked at Guji, who was still mentioning things about the immortal domain. The immortal killing formation had been beaten by Qin Hao. Although the immortal killing formation was cracked by Baihu just now, it still has a very powerful pressure, allowing those in front of him to. Guji didn't react at all for a long time. You must have a high status in the Dark Ancient Palace, otherwise they wouldn't be able to send you out alone. If you died here, I believe they would be very sad. With that said, Qin Hao summoned the Sky Thunder. Now that he can control the highest magic, he naturally triggers the Sky Thunder. Many strong men have died under the Sky Thunder. Boom! Thunder struck down one after another, and the inside of the Zuxian killing formation was like a purgatory, so that the people around did not dare to look inside at all. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 392. Little Tianli dared to take action against me. The staff in Guji's hand was raised, and a little red light burst out from it. Just as the thunder in the sky hit, Qin Hao saw the magic in Guji's hand hit it, and the thunder was split into 2 sides. What? You can actually split thunder into 2 sides? What exactly is going on? Qin Hao said as he focused on Guji. The Sky Thunder is the most capable thing to destroy the heaven and the earth, but Guji can use his magic to fight against the Sky Thunder. There are some problems in this. Qin Hao, seeing the Sky Thunder flashing continuously, his eyes naturally focused on it, wanting to see how much damage Guji could do. Seeing that he was completely unable to disperse the thunder cloud, Guji slowly set his eyes on Qin Hao. On his body, there was a hint of ridicule on his face. Don't think that you can kill me by triggering the Sky Thunder. When I first crossed the Tribulation Land, I'm afraid you were all still drinking milk. After the words fell, the staff in Guji's hand suddenly rose up, directly covering his head. A light shield appeared on Guji's head, causing Qin Hao to focus on it. Unexpectedly, do you know what the power of the light shield is? Boom! A bolt of thunder struck down, hitting the light shield directly. Qin Hao originally thought that there should be a light shield. He didn't expect that the light shield didn't even react at all, as if the thunder didn't hit him just now. Qin Hao sat outside the formation and looked at Guji in front of him. Guji was a little unreal. The most terrifying thing about Tianli is its destructive power, but Guji seemed to ignore Tianli, which made Qin Hao deeply suspicious. I saw a spiritual consciousness coming from Qin Hao's body, and it engulfed his body directly, wanting to see what was going on with Guji. Because the quasi-immortal emperor was relatively strong, Guji didn't notice that his divine consciousness was attached to his back at all. Guji originally thought that Qin Hao was afraid of him and he had already taken back the staff in his hand. Before he could react, he suddenly found that there was a spiritual consciousness coming from behind, causing his expression to change immediately. Guji looked at Qin Hao with a gloomy expression. You guys, I didn't expect you to dare to detect me with your spiritual sense. After the words fell, Qin Hao showed a sneer on his face. Sure enough, I thought you weren't afraid at all. It turns out that it's because you are not an entity at all. The Four Elephants Divine Valley was originally the place where the 4 divine beasts lived. They had to pay a price if they wanted to come to the Dark Ancient Temple. Since Guji in front of him was just a phantom, Qin Hao naturally had no intention of dealing with him, and slowly the formation was retracted. There are many ways to deal with phantoms, and the most useful method is to simply ignore it, so that his spells will naturally be useless. Guji looked at Qin Hao and ignored him at all. Knowing that Qin Hao had seen through his weakness, he shook his head helplessly. Now that you've seen through it, I won't say more. After the words fell, there was no other voice from Guji. As Guji's figure slowly disappeared, Bai Hu was naturally beaten into the White Tiger Palace by Qinglong, allowing him to reflect inside for a while and not letting him come out to cause trouble. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 393. Haha, this time a hidden danger has been eliminated, thanks to you. After the words fell, Qin Hao looked at them. Qinglong turned his attention to himself. Maybe it was because Qinglong knew that Qin Hao came to them for something, so he naturally had no other ideas and looked at Qin Hao. I don't know why you came to our Four-Elephant God Valley. If we can help you, we will definitely not do anything perfunctory. With that said, Qinglong threw a medicinal plant in front of Qin Hao. Qin Hao watched Qinglong throw the medicinal plant in front of him, and immediately stretched out his hand to take it. In Qin Hao's view, the medicinal plant already represents everything. After all, he came here for the medicine. Qin Hao glanced at Qinglong, chuckled and said, I only need the medicine, and I also need to rescue Suanwu as soon as possible. Suddenly, Qin Hao found something wrong with the medicinal materials in his hand, which made him focus on the medicinal materials. This doesn't seem to be the so-called asparagus grass. Qin Hao raised his head and looked at Qinglong, waiting for Qinglong to give him an answer. Qinglong watched Qin Hao focus on himself and said with a smile, of course, this is Qinglong Dan specially produced by our Dragon Valley. The effect of the medicine on asparagus is only good but not bad, acai. Qin Hao looked at Qinglong saying this and nodded slightly towards Qinglong. No matter what the medicinal materials in his hands are, Qin Hao only needs the medicinal materials in his hands to save people, and of course he has no other ideas. Qinglong saw that Qin Hao had taken away the medicinal materials, and closed the door with a wave of his hand. Qin Hao turned around and took a look inside, sighing that the impact would be so great. Now that he has obtained Qinglong Dan, Qin Hao will choose to stay. I saw Qin Hao bringing Qinglong Dan to Xianlei Island. He found that the place had changed greatly, and there were withered trees everywhere. There must be something unexpected. As he said that, Qin Hao looked inside, wondering what was going on inside the mansion. Slowly walking to the front of the mansion, Qin Hao found that the restrictions inside were gone. Stepping into the mansion, Qin Hao immediately discovered there was more water from the lake in the palace, which made Qin Hao notice something was wrong. When Qin Hao walked to the holy pool, he found that the shepherd boy was taking action against Suanwu, and the palace in the lake had been summoned by him. At this time, the shepherd boy was already very weak. If it weren't for the shepherd boy's unspoken rules, he would have fallen to the ground by now. Qin Hao saw that the shepherd boy had only his subconscious left, and slowly rushed towards the shepherd boy, and immediately stood in front of the shepherd boy. Beside him, a hand was placed beside the shepherd boy. How's it going? Is there any discomfort in your body? As soon as the words fell, Qin Hao directly unleashed the power of the quasi-immortal emperor. Wisps of power swallowed into the shepherd boy's body, making the shepherd boy feel extremely comfortable. You actually emptied all the power in your body. I really don't know what kind of strength you used to resist it. After the words fell, Qin Hao came to the side with the shepherd boy in his arms. At this time, Suanwu had been suppressed by the cave, and he hadn't moved at all for a long time. Qin Hao saw that Suanwu had been suppressed, and he naturally took out the Qinglong Dan in his hand. Once you take Qinglong Dan, you can dispel the demonic nature in him. _S fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 394. You have to grind Long Dan into powder, otherwise the medicinal properties in Qinglongdan will be too strong, and you may erase Suanwu's memory. The shepherd boy opened his eyes and watched Qin Hao place Qinglongdan in front of Suanwu, and reminded Qin Hao directly. Qin Hao knew nothing about the properties of medicine. If the shepherd boy hadn't discovered that Qin Hao was feeding medicine, I'm afraid Qin Hao would have the Qinglongdan was placed in the shepherd boy's mouth. Qin Hao was looking for other things nearby, and focused on the shepherd boy. I'll grind it into powder as much as possible. You have a good rest. Where is the elixir? The shepherd boy looked at Qin Hao and asked him for the elixir. He suddenly took out a jade bottle from his clothes and threw it directly at Qin Hao. Qin Hao looked at the shepherd boy and turned his attention to himself, and smiled slightly at the shepherd boy. He waved his hand and said, "Just have a good rest and leave the rest to me." I saw Qin Hao put the jade bottle in his hand, and the quasi-immortal emperor's strength in the other hand completely exploded, causing the pills in his hand to be completely squeezed into powder. The powder fell into the jade bottle, and he knew how to pick up the jade bottle. It was time to rescue Suanwu when he came down. He walked slowly to Suanwu, and the powder in the jade bottle had been poured out. Since Suanwu was already under control, he had no way to resist, and shouts kept coming from his mouth, "Let them focus on it." They saw the color of Suanwu constantly changing. Qin Hao slowly took a few steps back and focused on the shepherd boy. He didn't know if this would have any effect. The shepherd boy looked at Suanwu and turned his gaze on his body. He said directly to Qin Hao, "Don't worry, Suanwu has regained his consciousness now. I think it will be fine from now on." Suanwu is the one with the strongest recovery power among the four divine beasts. Mutu believes that Suanwu can overcome the difficulties. His eyes are on Suanwu, waiting for the transformation from the demonized state. The two of them also set their eyes on Suanwu at the same time, waiting for Suanwu woke up. As the light from Suanwu's body began to shine, Qin Hao found that Suanwu had gradually woken up. The shepherd boy saw Suanwu coming to him and said directly, "How's it going? Have you woken up yet?" Suanwu shook his head and then slowly came to his senses. "What happened to me just now?" Qin Hao looked at Suanwu and turned his attention to himself, and said directly to Suanwu, "You have been demonized just now. You can see for yourself. How is Xianlei Island?" Suanwu watched Qin Hao focus on him, slowly looked inside the mansion, and immediately knew what he had just done. 000. At this time, Suanwu already knew what had happened, and his face had completely turned into the color of pig liver. Suddenly, Suanwu said to Qin Hao, "Hurry up and take me to the Black Sea. The Dark Ancient Palace is going to attack the tombstones under the Black Sea. There is something inside." Qin Hao looked at Suanwu and said this, and immediately knew that the Dark Ancient Palace had something new. Plan. How to get this thing off? With that said, Qin Hao took down the cave above. Suanwu saw that the heavy objects on his body were gone, and immediately rushed out from Xianlei Island with Qin Hao. The target was naturally the Black Sea. Since the Dark Ancient Palace to attack the Black Sea, there must be some ulterior secrets behind the tombstones. 8. Collect and recommend. Fantasy. After thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 395. What? There is actually an inheritance in the ancient tomb. Why didn't you tell me about this before? Qin Hao focused his eyes on Suanwu, with blame in his tone. Suanwu looked at Qin Hao's eyes on him and said with some embarrassment, "I don't want to be like this either. I don't even know how I was raped. They devoured it." Back in the Black Sea, Suanwu directly let Qin Hao sit on 000 his back, and the two of them sprinted towards the bottom of the Black Sea. If Qin Hao was alone, I'm afraid he wouldn't be able to. The solution is to go to the bottom. After all, the pressure of immortal power is the greatest under the Black Sea. Qin Hao has been watching them come to the Black Sea for a while, but still did not find the existence of Emperor Taixuan, which gave Qin Hao an ominous premonition. Suan Wuzuan looking over his shoulder, he glanced at Qin Hao and said softly, "I smelled the smell of battle around the Black Sea, and there was the smell of Emperor Taixuan in it." Due to the tension over the ancient tomb inheritance, Suan Wu naturally chose to take Qin Hao to the bottom of the Black Sea first to see if he could stop the Dark Ancient Palace from absorbing the power of the ancient tomb. When Suan Wu and Qin Hao just came inside, the two people immediately discovered the ancient tomb was badly damaged, as if it had lost all its immortality. Qin Hao jumped off Suan Wu's back and slowly walked to the door of the ancient tomb. Generally, ancient tombs will have some owner's breath, which makes it easier to inhale people, otherwise there was no way to accept the inheritance. Suan Wu closed his eyes and sensed it. He found that the ancient tomb in front of him was no longer useful, which made him shake his head helplessly. "Hey, it seems we are a step too late." As he said that, Suan Wu was speechless. The Dark Ancient Palace has absorbed all the breath in the ancient tomb, and may even have obtained the inheritance of the ancient tomb. Their number one enemy will appear in the Black Sea. Since the ancient tomb can be sealed in the water, the master must have survived in the Black Sea. Qin Hao looked at the ancient tomb and there was no room for redemption, and quickly set his sights on Suan Wu. "Take me up quickly. I wonder how Emperor Taixuan is doing." Suan Wu glanced at the ancient tomb in front of him, murmured a few words, and came directly to Qin Hao to the shore. At this time, there were only some defeated soldiers left on the shore. When they watched Qin Hao come up from under the Black Sea, he immediately ran towards Qin Hao. His tone was unusually aggrieved. Qin Hao saw that they were focusing on him, and he didn't know what they had experienced. "Emperor Taixuan has been captured by them. Yuan Zun is just the person they brought out to attract us, and the purpose is actually the ancient tomb under the Black Sea." Qin Hao looked at them and knew everything. He knew that Emperor Taixuan was most likely taken away. His brows wrinkled slightly, and his head began to spin rapidly, as if he wanted to see how it would cope with what happened next. Things. Suan Wu looked at Qin Hao and kept his eyes on the Dark Ancient Palace, and said in a loud voice, 0.8. Don't think about breaking into the Dark Ancient Palace alone. Their power is beyond your imagination. In Qin Hao's view, he has now surpassed the strength of the quasi-immortal emperor and is naturally capable of fighting them. Unfortunately, Suan Wu seems to have understood everything and stood directly beside Qin Hao, not letting Qin Hao do anything. Take the initiative to attack them to avoid any accidents happening to Qin Hao _. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 396. Day after day, Qin Hao has been on the Black Sea for several days. Within a few days, Qin Hao only felt very uncomfortable. He had no idea what the other party was doing or where Emperor Taixuan was. Although there are not so many quasi-immortal emperors in the immortal realm, they have a comparative advantage in numbers, so they can naturally fight against the Dark Ancient Palace. Suan Wu saw Qin Hao investigating such things every day, with a hint of worry on his brows, and his eyes were always on Qin Hao. At this time, Suan Wu already knew that Qin Hao was like an uncertain factor 02, which could completely explode at any time. I saw Suan Wu slowly walking up to Qin Hao. It is impossible for Emperor Taixuan to be placed in front of us by them. I am afraid that Emperor Taixuan has been taken away by them. Qin Hao listened to what Suan Wu said and waved his hand directly to Suan Wu. That's impossible. Emperor Taixuan is not an ant. He has his own resistance. He raised his head and glanced at the direction of the Dark Ancient Palace. Ideas kept appearing in his head, which made Qin Hao eager to go up and explore. Suan Wu saw that he had raised the topic, and shook his head helplessly. I just want to go up there and have a look, so there seems to be no need to set off directly. Qin Hao saw Suanwu planning to take action and said directly to Suanwu, what can you do? There are many secrets in the Black Sea. Suanwu has lived in the Black Sea since he was a child, and he is also one of the 4 divine beasts. Qin Hao naturally believed in him. Suanwu looked at Qin Hao and believed in him. In front of Huanhuo Hao, there was a green streak on his body. The light came out and surrounded Qin Hao directly. Since Suanwu's figure had disappeared, he found that he seemed to be in Suanwu's belly, which made him feel a little uncomfortable. Suanwu still didn't look inside, and the strength in his body was according to the prescribed meridians were punched out. The spirit returns. Suanwu gathered his tortoise shell, taking his strength to a higher level. At the same time, the figure of Emperor Taixuan also appeared beside them, allowing them to focus on Emperor Taixuan. Qin Hao took a look at the environment around Emperor Taixuan and found that he had been discovered by the Dark Ancient Palace, and they seemed to be taking Emperor Taixuan somewhere, so Qin Hao had no way to take action. That should be the boundary sea in the rumors. As long as you reach it, the strength of Emperor Taixuan will be useless. Suanwu said helplessly. Suanwu floats on the Black Sea every day, and the things inside are naturally the clearest. Qin Hao saw that Emperor Taixuan had been brought into the boundary sea, and turned his head to look at the immortal 000 king behind him. Since their foundation is still here, Qin Hao naturally cannot take everyone away. He must leave a few people to control the immortal king. Qin Hao glanced at the Kinyu immortal lord and asked him to slowly come to him before. The immortal realm is now in your hands. I hope you won't disappoint us. With that said, Qin Hao left directly from the shore. All in Qin Hao's head was Emperor Taixuan, and he did not want Emperor Taixuan to be destroyed and harmed in another world. At this time, there were already immortals in the immortal realm. With your respect in charge, Qin Hao can naturally go to another place with peace of mind. Fei. Lu reminds you, 3 things about reading, collecting and recommending. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 397. In the boundless Black Sea, Qin Hao appeared on the sea level, his eyes always on the end of the Black Sea. I don't know why, Qin Hao has some other thoughts in his head. Since Yuan Zun was the one they released to attract attention, I wonder if they have evacuated from the branch hall. Not long after arriving at the Black Sea, a storm came from the surface of the Black Sea, causing Qin Hao to look below the Black Sea. I saw a dark green Suanwu crawling out, and its eyes were on Qin Hao. Are you leaving? The boundary sea is not that easy to break into, and there are some other races at the end of the boundary sea. Qin Hao looked at Suanwu constantly reminding him, smiled bitterly and shook his head. Emperor Taixuan is the foundation of our immortal realm and cannot be captured by their dark ancient palace. Suanwu saw Qin Hao's words becoming more and more serious, and couldn't help but nodded to Qin Hao. Yes, immortal realm has always been an existence that we look up to. I hope you can rescue Emperor Taixuan as soon as possible, please. Qin Hao watched Suanwu focus on him and said directly to Suanwu. Emperor Taixuan is the foundation of our immortal realm. You don't need to say anything to save him, but... Having said this, Qin Hao narrowed his eyes slightly. For some reason, Qin Hao was particularly interested in the branch hall in front of him, as if there was something inside the branch hall of the dark ancient palace. Suanwu looked at Qin Hao and said with a smile. Why don't I go to the branch hall with you and take a look? There's no one inside. Qin Hao looked at Suanwu and said this. Wu nodded and reached the door of the branch hall. Suanwu took a look inside and said directly to Qin Hao. I went inside to take a look first. Although they had all evacuated, I was not sure they had left anything behind. Qin Hao looked at Suanwu saying this, nodded slightly to Suanwu, and watched helplessly as Suanwu walked inside. When Suanwu walked inside for about half a stick of incense, Qin Hao slowly walked into the branch hall, and saw at a glance that there were still people inside. There are some people hiding. Suan Wu watched Qin Hao focus on himself and said directly to Qin Hao. They had all evacuated, but I don't know why they kept so many people and kept it secret from us. If Qin Hao hadn't suddenly wanted to come over, they would never have thought that there were so many people left in the branch hall. I don't know why he stayed here. Did you smell a familiar smell? Qin Hao looked inside and sensed a familiar smell. Suan Wu looked at Qin Hao and said this with a hint of horror in his eyes. How come I seem to smell him, Emperor Taixuan? Qin Hao looked at Suan Wu and smelled the same, and immediately nodded to Suan Wu. It seems right. When we went inside and took a look, Emperor Xian didn't leave at all. Suan Wu looked at Qin Hao and said this, and slowly followed Qin Hao inside, wanting to see what was going on inside. The two of them just walked inside, and immediately they could see a main hall. The main hall. There are some guards guarding both sides. It seems that they are all hiding in the main hall. I don't know who is in the main hall. Qin Hao frowned, not daring to go there rashly.